As a travel enthusiast that loves documenting my trips, bringing the wrong camera can mean missing out on those special moments. This week in Montreal, I brought 2 travel cameras with me to answer the question, which one of these is a better travel camera?
But what makes a perfect travel camera? Along with capturing the sights you see, the places you go, the food you eat, I've got some checkboxes that I want this travel camera to hit. I need the camera to be small, easy to use, and have high quality images and videos that I can get posted to social media quickly.
The first camera that I brought on this trip is the Fuji X100V. I've had this for probably 2 years and I brought it on most of my trips, and I've got some of my favorite photos out of this camera. It's small, it's portable, and a lot of people mistake it for a film camera.
The other camera that I've brought along is the Canon G7X Mkii. This camera is even smaller than the Fuji X100V and even has some tricks up its sleeve that the X100 doesn't have. In this video, I'm not going to be getting too deep into the technical specs of the cameras, more so my experience using them, so take that as you will.
I think one of the most enticing things about cameras like this are their small size.
My Sony that I use day to day back home is about 2 to 3 times the size, and that's not including the other lenses that I'd also be hauling around. Both of these cameras can fit in one hand, a side bag, a purse, or even a back pocket. The G7X is basically a rectangle that you can slip into anything, where the Fuji does have a lens that sticks out a little bit, but overall, these are both really small cameras. One of the major differences between these cameras is the flip screen. The Fuji has an articulating screen, which is great for high or low angles. If you're someone that's avid on taking selfies, this may be a deal breaker. When shooting with the G7X, I quickly realized there isn't a viewfinder. I held this camera right up to my face, and I realized how silly that would be. There's just a big screen on the back. As a photographer, when I'm focused on trying to get a shot, waiting for the right moment, or like dialing in my settings, I do really enjoy having a viewfinder. When I'm just taking a snapshot, similar to what I'd be doing on my phone, I'm cool with just referencing a large screen. In terms of holding these cameras, the G7X doesn't have much to grip onto. Maybe it's better if you put a little leash on it like I have. And the Fuji doesn't really offer much as well, but there is a little bit more area to grip. And on my Fuji, I've actually added a thumb grip, so it's easier to grab.
I think one of the differentiators between these 2 cameras is the focal range. The Fuji X100V has a 35mm built right into it. You can't change this lens. If you want different framing, you're gonna have to move your feet. The G7X has a 24 to 100mm focal range, which means that you can get a variety of shots standing in the same location. If you're used to taking photos on your phone, you may feel a little bit lost or restricted using the Fuji as there's only one lens. Both of these cameras are pretty straightforward. I think if you shoot either of them in auto, you're gonna be pretty happy with the results you get.
With the Fuji having a few more dials out in the open, I find it easier to operate the Fuji in full manual mode, especially if I'm looking to have a little bit more control over the images, like when I'm trying to get a slow shutter shot. 90% of the time when I'm traveling, I do like to shoot in aperture priority mode. This means that I'm just changing the aperture on my camera, which dictates how blurry or in focus the background is gonna be. On the Fuji, all you need to do is set your ISO and shutter speed to auto and change the aperture ring on the front to whatever aperture you'd like. On the Canon, you just switch the dial on the top to AV. I choose to shoot like this fairly often because then I can spend more time framing up my photos, looking for a cool composition, rather than fooling with the settings. There's not many buttons or menu items on either of these cameras, so they're fairly simple to operate. I'm also aware that I'm saying that as somebody who's been shooting photos for over 10 years, and so I know what every menu item and button means, but I do think it's fairly straightforward. I think that the Canon does have an edge with ease of use. The menus are simpler to navigate versus the Fujis. And if you just picked up this camera, put it in auto, the photos you get are gonna be great. You might be looking at your screen right now saying, there's newer versions of these cameras. Why are you using these older versions of cameras? Well, 1, I don't have my hands on these cameras, and 2, I don't think you need to buy the latest and greatest tech to get incredible photos, and 3, the user experience and images that you get from the newer versions are not really gonna be that much different.
My assumption is you'd be picking up a camera like this because you want an upgrade from your cell phone. Maybe you want some raw photos, maybe you want a flash, or maybe you just want a dedicated camera to take photos on.
After shooting with these for my trip, I'm pretty happy with the images that I got from both these cameras. They'll be great for posting on social media, or if I want to make a photo book after the trip, I can do that. If I need to crop in on the images a little bit to adjust the framing or something that I got a little bit crooked, the image quality is great and I'm not going to have an issue with that. When I looked at the raw images, the Canon files looked a little bit more purple, as I feel Canon images do, and the Fuji's looked greenish, in my opinion. But because they're raw files, I'm able to edit them however I'd like, and I think I was able to match them pretty close, and I don't think the average person's gonna be able to tell which photo was taken on which camera. Both of these cameras do include a flash built in. This is nice to have when you're traveling. You don't always know what lighting conditions you're gonna be dealing with, and it's also great if you want these more nostalgic, disposable looking images. Let's quickly touch on video. I really like that both of these cameras have a built-in ND filter, which is great. It means you can shoot in brighter sunlight and you don't have to adjust your shutter speed as much as you need to. If you're planning on filming yourself using the G7X, this is what it's gonna look like. I can see myself in the screen up here, and the lens is 24mm wide, and this is what it sounds like.
Every influencer's favorite vlog camera.
This is what the video looks like on the X100V. We're using the 35mm lens, so it's gonna be a little bit closer, and this is what it sounds like. And for comparison, this is how video looks on the iPhone 15 Pro using the ultra-wide lens and the built-in audio. If you're looking to film yourself, the G7X definitely has the upper hand. I don't think it's impossible with the Fuji. I think you just need to put this thing on a tripod. The sound quality on both of these cameras wasn't actually as bad as I was expecting, but if you are planning on sharing these anywhere, I would encourage you to get a microphone to get the highest quality audio. I think that the best option for capturing snapshot videos on your travels is gonna be your phone. It's got multiple focal lengths, the audio is pretty decent. When you're finished shooting, the video is right on your phone, and the stabilization is great if you're gonna be walking around and shooting stuff. What good is going on a trip if you can't share about it on social media? Both of these cameras have apps that let you transfer your photos from your cameras to your phone directly. Both work. Sometimes they're a little bit tricky. Sometimes the Bluetooth or Wi-Fi cuts out, but they do work. You'll need to turn your cameras on, put them in a pairing mode, and tell your phone to attach to the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and just hope for the best. If you want a more reliable solution, there are SD to Lightning or USB-C dongles that you can purchase from the Apple Store or from Amazon. I really like these. I lost my last one. I really need to get one of these because they're quick and they're reliable. If you want to reduce your editing time, this is where the Fuji shines. I know one of the selling features of the X100 series is that you can program recipes into your camera to give you different looks, like filters that you're essentially applying to your images right when you're shooting. I timed how long it would take to transfer 10 images on both of these cameras, and it was pretty much the same amount of time. One wasn't really quicker than the other. When your photos do arrive on your phone from either of these cameras, they are a little bit flat, so I would recommend adding some contrast and saturation to make these things pop before you put them on social media. The X100V really shines with the film recipes that you can program right into your images. It's a very fun camera to bring around, and it makes me want to shoot more photos. The fixed lens keeps me on my toes and not as lazy, and it makes me put more thought into my compositions. The G7X is incredible for how small it really is. It truly is tiny. The multiple focal lengths are definitely a selling feature for me. I don't always know what I'm going to be encountering on these trips, so having the options to shoot wide and tight is really nice. All of that being said, which one of these cameras do I think is a better travel camera? If you're a photographer and you care about the process of getting your image, then the Fuji is definitely for you. Maybe you have another mirrorless camera at home that you're comfortable shooting with, and you just don't want to bring that along on every trip. If you're looking for a step up from your phone, maybe you want some higher quality images, some depth of field in your photos or videos, then the G7X is for you. Be prepared for a little bit more editing and post-processing than you're used to on your cell phone. Video stabilization and audio are much better than the Fuji's. I don't think they're perfect, but they're okay. Both of these cameras are incredible for taking on your travels. They're small, they're lightweight, and they're so much fun to use. As someone who shoots photos and videos every single day for my job, I actually really enjoyed having both of the cameras with me. I put the X100V across my body. It was really easy to grab if I saw a moment happening in front of me. If I wanted to capture just a snapshot, maybe a selfie with my wife and I, the G7X wasn't far, it was just in my back pocket. And if I needed a video, my phone was also in my pocket. Thank you for making it this far in the video. My name's Davey, and thank you for letting me spill the gravy. If you're interested in why I think the Fuji X100V is an incredible street photography camera, you can find that video right here. We'll see you in the next one. Also, while we were in Montreal, the eclipse was happening. We didn't really know this was going to be happening when we booked our tickets, So we were actually in the airport on our way home as it was happening. Thankfully, there was a window pointed the correct direction right by our gate, so we got the entire show. The final few minutes before totality was insane. The fact that everything went black was just nuts. Like, I've never seen anything like that, and it happened so quickly. When the next one happens, I would love to travel and go see it in its entirety and not from an airport, but still a super cool experience.